record this. But I just want to share my story because when I was 40, my health was worse than my mom's health was when she was 40. And I had migraines, I had hyperthyroidism. I had already started to heal my gut. I had been healing my gut for quite a few years then because I worked on healing my gut when I found out that I had a candida overgrowth and allergy back in 2010. And before that, the reason that I had the candida overgrowth and I had the candida allergy was because I had so many sinus infections back in 2009, 2010. Every month I would have a sinus infection. I would get put on antibiotics and steroids. I'd have a decent week and then I'd start all over again. And I did that for over a year. And my allergy doctor finally told me that he couldn't give me any more steroids, that I had overdone the amount that I was supposed to have in a year and they couldn't give me any more. And I was like, what am I supposed to do now? And that's when they did surgery on my nose. So they could kind of clear that out and I can breathe better, hopefully not get the sinus infections and stuff like that. And after I had the surgery on my nose, I went back to the same place and talked to a different allergy doctor. And he told me that they had only made my problem worse because now all of the allergens could get into my nose so much easier and I was going to have a lot more problems. So I was like, well, what do I do now? So that is when I got allergy tested. I found out I had the candida allergy and a candida overgrowth, along with a host of other allergies. And he put me on allergy shots and he put me on a candida diet, which I'm very thankful for because that was the beginning of healing my gut. And I started to feel so much better when I went on this diet. I mean, it was very, very restrictive. If you can Google the candida diet. Mostly what I ate was meat and vegetables, and the vegetables were not sweet vegetables. I couldn't have like peas or carrots or any of the sweeter vegetables, and that's all I ate. I had meat and vegetables. After about 5 weeks or so, I was allowed to have one serving of fruit a day, and that was either like a green apple or grapefruit or pears or berries, because those were the least amount of sugar in them. So I had no sugar, and I was on this diet for 8 years. And if I had known what I learned in this class, I could have cut that down a lot, like by a fourth, a half, because every time I would go back to my allergy doctor, I'd be like, oh, when can I quit this diet? You know, because he told me when I started, it would be like 2 or 3 years. And every time they would extend it, I was like, oh, maybe another year, maybe a couple more years. I was on it for 8 years. And that is a really long time not to have sugar, carbs. I was limited on the amount of carbs that I could eat because carbs turn into sugar in your body. And but it did start to heal my gut. And when I was having the trouble with the hyperthyroidism and the migraines still, because I was starting to introduce things back into my diet, and that caused me to have more migraines, more problems, and I didn't even realize what was happening. And I went to a natural health consultant, and she was the one who helped me further heal my gut, and doing some of the things in here in this class that I learned. And she helped me do that faster. And it wasn't long after I saw her, it was probably about 6 months, that I got off my allergy shots. And I also could start to eat a little bit of gluten and sugar and things like that again. And yeah, it was amazing what it did for me. And I hope that we can help you with whatever issues you're going through. Gut healing is one of the most important things that we can do. It is so amazing. And I know that if I had not done that I would not be sitting here talking to you now, because I would be laying sick on my couch and I wouldn't be here. So I just want to share a little what I learned with you. So I hope you can take a little bit of this and apply it so you can improve your health and have a long, healthy life with your family and your kids. and enjoy your grandkids, because that's my goal, is to live a long, healthy life, to see my kids, my grandkids, and my great grandkids. So that is my wish for you too. So let's get started. If you ever have any questions about my story or different things that I've done, I'd be happy to help you and answer those questions if I can. And if I can't help you, I definitely know people that I can send you to that would be able to help you. So let's get started on this class so that you can take the tidbits and start applying them and improve your health today even. So I am convinced that the single most important thing, first thing I want to do is give honor where honor is due. I am getting this gut health class from this book. It's the Game Plan Oil Script book. It's written by Sarah Harnish, and she did such an amazing job writing this oils class that I couldn't have done any better. And I learned so much from it that I wanted to share it with you. So you can get this book yourself. It has 25 different classes in it. And it is just an amazing book. And I have learned so much from it already. I've gone through like 4 or 5 classes. I can't wait to get to the rest. So let's get started. I am convinced that the single most important thing you can do in your journey of living clean is to protect your gut. At best, it can mean a significantly better quality of life. At the very least, it can literally be the difference between life or death for you. If you'd asked me about the importance of gut health 9 years ago, I would have given you this answer. I can't be perfect. I don't like eating rice cakes. I don't want to eat it if it doesn't taste good. I can't live in an organic bubble. Avoid exposure to all poisons. Everything is going to kill me. Have you ever said that? Everything is going to kill me. There's too much to learn. I don't have time. I'm overwhelmed. If it hasn't killed me by now, I'm sure I'll be fine. How many of us have said that? I know I've said those same things. So here's the question I have for you. No one needs to hear the answer but you. But are you really fine? Are you really fine? I want you to define what fine is. Is it waking up every day with a stiff and sore muscles and an aching back? Is it chronic pain? Is it daily or weekly headaches? Is it weight that will not let go of you, no matter how many diets you do? Do you sleep completely through the night? Are you constipated? Do you battle anxiety or depression? What about anything with the brain? Do you have migraines, dyslexia, ADHD, ADD? Is your gut distended? Do you have inflammation? Do you have food allergies or IBS? Do you have skin issues like acne, eczema, or psoriasis? What about candida overgrowth? How well do you handle stress? How are your hormones, your libido? What about your energy levels? Every single one of those ailments can be linked to gut health. Your cells are literally made up of what you put in your mouth. If you ate sugary cereal this morning, it's already in your cells. 90% of sickness and disease starts in the gut. If you begin your work there, you have a 9 out of 10 shot that you're starting in the right place. Let me read that again. 90% of sickness and disease starts in the gut. If you begin your work there, you have the 9 out of 10 shot that you're starting in the right place. It's not fixed by cutting one food. It's not fixed by a diet you do for a few months. It's not fixed by cutting your McDonald's visits to once a week or cutting a Starbucks coffee from your regimen. It took a lot of work to do the damage you've already done, years and thousands of mistakes. It's going to be a process to reverse it. The good news is that God designed the body to heal itself. If we stop damaging it, it will start to make repairs all on its own, simply by cutting some foods out, adding some foods in, supplementing, and doing things so that you're absorbing the right stuff. You can have a better life over the next 10 years than you had in the last 10. But you must choose it for yourself. It means commitment. It means discipline. If you are not in a place to hear hard things, come back to this when your heart is ready. If you are ready, let's run together and get you to what God intended you to be. Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. You have been given a stewardship to protect it. Even more importantly, you cannot do what you're called and created to do when your health is suppressed. That is why health is so terribly important. It has the ability to mute your purpose. You are at a fork in the road, but you have the wisdom to move. You see, there is something that came to you that wasn't physically sitting inside. Discernment. Labels are going to start to bother you, as they should. If you make more bad decisions than good ones, you will not feel well. If you make a lot of good decisions and keep the bad ones in moderation, you will feel better. You have to decide how good you want to feel. I will tell you what I tell everyone. You cannot use a Band-Aid. You cannot use something as a Band-Aid to a life. You cannot use an oil to Band-Aid a lifestyle decision. So eating fast food 6 days a week and then using peppermint topically, it doesn't fix the root issue, an addiction to what is fast and easy. So you can't fix bad habits with a Band-Aid. If you're looking for fast and easy, you are in the wrong place. Fast and easy does not heal you. My goal is total repair. That's not a mass feeling that fades away, but lifelong health. For you to want to fight for yourself, you must get to a point where your health is so poor that you can no longer ignore lifestyle decisions like sugar binging, processed food, eating out, and poor food sourcing. When you are too sick to look anywhere but up, then you are ready to dig into the gut and make repairs that will last. Then you are looking at a future that is better than your past. Now it's time to get your life back. Let's start at the beginning and walk together. What is your gut? Do you know what your gut is? Your gut includes your mouth and esophagus, your stomach, small intestine, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas, your large intestine, colon, and your rectum. It starts where the food goes in and ends where the food comes out. In your mouth, food is chewed and digestive enzymes are released. The acid helps kill unwanted fungi, bacteria, and parasites in your food. The food then goes into the small intestine, is the most sensitive and prone to gut damage. In the large intestine, bacteria assist with digestion and detoxification. 30% of the US population, that's 1 in 3 people, have some form of IBS, that's irritable bowel syndrome. 84% of all cases are caused by overgrowth of bad bacteria in the gut. Thousands more diseases are directly linked to the health of the gut. The good news is, because the gut can heal itself, the diseases can be healed. Here are some facts about the human gut. Bacteria in your gut starts growing while you are in utero and is mostly developed by the time you're 3 years old. It's well documented that exposure to dirt, bacteria, and animals aid in the development of a healthier immune system. Today, we don't have constant exposure to dirt to train our immune system. If autoimmune diseases were measured as one group, they would rival the number of Americans with heart disease. That blows my mind, that statement right there. The earlier antibiotics are used, the more damage they do. If they are used too early, before bacteria can populate the entire gut, you risk losing that bacteria for your entire life. Children who are born vaginally have different gut bacteria than those born by C-section. Probiotics are healthy bacteria, and prebiotics feed those bacteria. The earlier a child takes probiotics, the more beneficial it is. So why is gut health so important? You have about 3 to 4.5 pounds of bacteria in your gut alone. They are highly organized micro world with a pecking order. Some species control others. They serve so many functions that if our gut was sterilized, we would likely not survive. We are symbiotic with our gut bacteria, like an oxpecker bird that eats the bugs off a rhinoceros. They sound the alarm to let the rhinos know humans are close, to save them from being poached. The human digestive tract is a long tube open to the world at its mouth and at its end. So if we eat and drink a plethora of toxins, why don't we die? It's because the whole tube is coated with a bacterial layer, providing a natural barrier against invaders. If the gut is damaged, you are a city without walls of protection. You are open to viruses, parasites, bad bacteria, toxic substances, dangerous chemicals, candida, and so much more. Not only does our gut flora protect us, but it also helps us absorb nutrients. Without it, you become malnourished. It sets up a chain of degenerative changes in the digestive wall, which further impact your ability to absorb the good things from your food. So what kind of things damage the gut? Antibiotics. They kill your energy vitamins, B1, B2, B3, B6, B12, vitamin K, magnesium, and potassium. Antacids damage the gut. They diminish calcium, folic acid, iron, and vitamins B and D. Antidepressants damage the gut. They knock out coenzyme Q10 and vitamin B2. Anti-inflammatory drugs damage the gut, like cortisone and prednisone. They deplete you of calcium, zinc, and vitamin C and B. Blood pressure lowering drugs damage the gut. They steal your calcium, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Cholesterol lowering drugs damage the gut. They take away coenzyme Q10. Hormone replacement therapies steal magnesium, vitamin B and C, and folic acid. Sorry, these words are big. Aminoglycosides like erythromycin damage the gut. Antifungals like nystatin damage the gut. The pill or birth control damages the gut. That's another thing that caused my candida. They took me off birth control. It's one of the first things they did when they found out I had an allergy to candida and the candida overgrowth, which also led to our youngest son. Stress. 75% of physician visits are for stress-related ailments. So stress damages your gut. Old age damages your gut. Alcoholism damages your gut. Pollution, exposure to toxic substances. Radiation damages your gut, even from blue lights from computers or radiation from high cell phone use. X-rays damage your gut on your teeth, MRIs at the airport, and extreme climates damage your gut. And diet, specifically sugar, which feeds bad bacteria that damages your gut. A diet high in fiber from grains like breakfast cereals and bread has a huge effect on gut flora. Bottle-fed babies develop different gut flora than breastfed babies, and it's not good. Prolonged fasting, starvation, and overeating seriously alters the composition of gut flora and can lead to lifelong health problems. Opportunistic bacteria can get out of control because they're being fed by the wrong things, or because the good bacteria that keeps them in check is dying out from being attacked in the gut wall. When that happens, they get through the gut wall barrier and into the lymph nodes and bloodstream and cause a host of problems. When this is not controlled, it can damage the gut wall and make it leaky. For example, when candida breaches the gut wall, its cells attach to the gut lining, pulling roots through it. We can see it on a microscope. Partially digested food goes through the holes where the roots are and into the bloodstream, where the immune system recognizes it as foreign and attacks it. That is how food allergies and intolerances develop. So that causes food allergies and intolerances. How many people around you have problems with food allergies and intolerances? Cutting out the food does not fix the problem. Let me say that again. Cutting out the food that they're allergic or sensitive to does not fix the problem. Other foods can get through the gut wall and start to cause allergies as the body attacks them too. So you need to stop the leak. That's the only way to fix the problem. The same is true for the human endocrine system, which regulates all our hormones. You can go on a pill, but it will mask symptoms that are likely getting worse. It does not fix the root. I don't want to mask the symptoms. I want the problems fixed. The art of medicine consists of amusing the patient while nature cures the disease. That was written by Voltaire. The art of medicine consists of amusing the patient while nature cures the disease. I love that. Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride said the human body has an incredible ability to heal itself, given the right help. I do not believe, she writes, I do not believe that anyone, no matter how ill or disabled, is beyond improvement. When working in neurosurgery, it never ceased to amaze me how remarkably well the child's brain recovered after serious operations, when parts of the brain were removed. At a yearly checkup, hardly any neurological deficit was detectable. However, nature does not work fast. Getting ill happens amazingly fast, but recovery takes much longer. I tell my GAPS patients to brace themselves for at least 2 years of hard work, sometimes longer. The goals of GAPS. GAPS is gut and psychology syndrome. Goal 1 is your diet. Clean up the digestive tract so it stops being the biggest source of toxicity in the human body. Goal 2 is supplementation. After you cut things out, put good things in so you absorb the nutrients. Goal 3, detoxification and lifestyle changes so it does not happen again. That's one thing I don't ever want to go back and have to go through all of that again. All right, let's walk through the steps of what that looks like. I'll explain the GAPS diet to you later, and if that's the route you want to take, I'd highly recommend you snag Dr. McBride's book at gapsdiet.com and just get lost in it. Whatever route you take, slow, fast, intense, or one at a time, remember this quote. About 80% of the food on shelves of supermarkets today didn't exist 100 years ago. Larry McCleary, feed your brain, lose your belly. That's where that quote comes from. About 80% of the food on shelves of supermarkets today did not exist 100 years ago. What you put in your body matters. Don't eat frankenfood, food that's created in a lab. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. If there are more than a handful of ingredients on the label, that's too many ingredients. You're getting processed food. Processed food damages the gut lining. If you're in a healing protocol, the food you choose is mission critical to seeing results. Let's make a list of the 3 biggest offenders and then the 3 things you want in your diet for it to heal, for you to heal. All right, the biggest offenders are, do you have your pen and pencil? Your pencil and paper? The 3 biggest offenders are sugar, dairy, and gluten. I'll repeat that again. Sugar, dairy, and gluten. The healers are fermented foods, bone broth, good fats, probiotics, enzymes, and omegas. So fermented foods, bone broth, good fats, probiotics, enzymes, and omegas. All right, we'll start with a popular offender, pop. We're talking about sugar right now. Pop or soda pop. The average American drinks 597 cans of soda a year. 1 can has up to 15 teaspoons of sugar. 1 can has 15 teaspoons of sugar. Imagine sitting there eating 15 spoonfuls in one sitting. Most of us are drinking our sugar. We're not eating it. One study measured the effects of 100 grams of sugar on neutrophils, a form of white blood cell that's involved in immunity. Within an hour of ingestion, neutrophil activity dropped 50% within an hour. Sugar lowers the body's immune system. Using fake sugar is no better. Significant studies have linked aspartame, Splenda, NutraSweet, Equal, and others like it to various forms of cancer. A major soft drink company had to cut aspartame out of their diet products after sales plummeted because it was linked to cancer. Instead, they switched to sucralose, which is derived from an insecticide compound. Let me say that again. They switched to sucralose, which is derived from an insecticide compound. The only sugars that I trust are stevia, which comes from an herb, raw honey, not the junk from at the store with corn syrup, and locally sourced maple syrup. Even then, I only use those in small amounts, very small amounts. It is stunning where sugar is hidden. It is in everything from lunch meat to spaghetti sauce, to white bread, to salad dressing. I once grabbed an organic yogurt to find out it had about 7 grams of sugar in one serving. It's so important to read the label when it comes to sugar. From a study in JAMA with the Harvard School of Health, researchers gathered 15 years of data on 40,000 people. They found those who took in 25% of their daily calories from sugar were more than twice as likely to die of heart disease. We think of food, but sugar is hidden in other places too. Sugar is found in toothpaste, children's chewable vitamins, chewing gum, flavored teas, processed snack foods, and even processed meats. The average person consumes 17 teaspoons of sugar a day, or 57 pounds per year. You should be under 10 grams a day total, or if you are on GAPS, 0. Anything more than that is causing serious gut damage. All right, let's move on to gluten. There's a flour I like to use. It's called einkorn flour. Einkorn is a completely different kind of wheat. It does not hit your gut even close to the same way. With that said, let's look at bread. We eat it daily in everything: cereals, bagels, sandwiches, pastas, pizzas, and desserts, to name a few. For the last 50 plus years, wheat has been hybridized and crossbred with other grains and species, then sprayed with chemical fertilizers and pesticides. One study alone from the USDA found 16 different pesticides in wheat flour. 16 different pesticides in wheat flour. Once they actually get it to a lab after using genetically modified seeds, it's enriched. If you see the word enriched on any of your bread, pasta, or cereal, run the other way as fast as you can. It's enriched with fake vitamins and synthetics that cause unbelievable damage to the gut, to the minerals in your body, and your ability to absorb the real vitamins that are out there. Non-enriched bread is very hard to find. One brand I really like is Dave's Killer Bread, which you can find on Amazon. I've also seen it at Costco in Sioux Falls. So I have seen it at Costco. Gluten, and sometimes I think Hy-Vee might also carry it. Gluten is actually a protein found in wheat, rye, spelt, and barley. The word is derived from the Latin word for glue because it's like elastic in the gut. It blocks of undigested protein from the gluten slide down into the small intestine and slow the absorption of other nutrients. Our bodies look at gluten as foreign, and the immune system attacks it. It's basically priming the small intestine for digestive issues. A better alternative is coconut or almond flour. When people ask about major health issues, I found many are resolved or greatly reduced simply by eliminating gluten 100%. Try it for 30 days and see if some of your symptoms disappear. Maybe you found the culprit without having to do the full GAPS diet. Dairy. The type of dairy you consume is absolutely critical. If it is raw dairy, Jersey or Guernsey cows that are pastured and not fed any grain or given growth hormones or antibiotics, you're in good shape. If you went and snagged a gallon at the grocery store instead of sourcing it from a local farmer, let me tell you what you're actually drinking. If you are consuming milk, butter, yogurt, and cheese from cows that are continually given antibiotics, you may be developing antibiotic resistance. The hormones they give the cows increase your chance of being overweight or getting cancer. When the milk is pasteurized, the natural enzymes, probiotics, and amino acids are completely destroyed. It goes from being a superfood to becoming poison. How you source your dairy takes it from one of the best foods in your diet to one of the worst. Everything a cow gets injected with, ibuprofen, steroids, etc., it goes directly into their milk. A study found some pasteurized milk can be more inflammatory to the gut than gluten. In addition to that, pasteurized milk increases your exposure to glyphosate, a chemical component of Roundup, a pesticide and herbicide applied to genetically modified crops, which are fed to the cattle. If I did not have a raw milk option near me, I would switch to almond or coconut milk or goat's milk. You'd be amazed at how many places have raw milk if you actually do some digging. Start by hitting up your local farmers markets. Never use soy. Soy is the #1 hormone disruptor on the earth. Avoid it at all costs. So what can you eat? What can I eat? Now that I've knocked out 50% of your diet, let's take a look at foods that heal the gut. Fermented foods are probiotic powerhouses. In addition to foods that are fermented, become nutrient storehouses. For example, when sauerkraut is fermented, the amount of vitamin C is 20 times that of straight cabbage, what sauerkraut is made of. Fermentation also makes foods more absorbable to the body. Refrigerators were only invented about 100 years ago. Every traditional culture, according to Natasha Campbell McBride, fermented their foods. They fermented everything: dairy, grains, meat, beans, vegetables, fruits, and fish. When the cabbage was available in September, they made fermented cabbage and ate it for another 10 months. With every mouthful of fermented food, they ate trillions of beneficial bacteria. Fermented foods are a relatively new concept to most people. Our generation and the 2 or 3 generations before us grew up with food from the grocery store. Mom was not growing cultures on counters in mason jars. Some examples of fermented foods: kefir, water or milk kefir. Water kefir can taste fizzy like ginger ale. Milk can taste like runny yogurt. Homemade yogurt is a fermented food. Raw cheese, coconut kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, kvass, that's K-V-A-S-S. It's a drink that can be made out of fermented beets. Pickles, pickled garlic or veggies like gingered carrots, and fermented sour cream or ketchup. Anytime you can make it at home, you'll have more results than buying something in a store that sat in a warehouse for half a year before reaching you. Many of these recipes are very easy to make up. In the case of sauerkraut, you're adding salt and water. With kefir and yogurt, you start with the culture, add sugar, which the bacteria eat, a flavoring like fresh lemon or ginger, and let it sit for a day or 2. With pickled veggies, you can use a starter or salt and water. With fermented dairy like sour cream, you will begin with a starter and raw milk warmed on the stove, but not enough to kill the cultures. Let it sit for 18 to 24 hours in a mason jar on your counter. With pickles, I simply add a fermented vinegar and a little honey with spices and garlic. They only fermented for 4 hours. There is a learning curve with fermented foods simply because we're not used to them. Once you try a few recipes, you'll fall in love, and you know you're helping your kids' guts with fermented ketchup or sour cream instead of ketchup from the store with corn syrup and sugar in it. It's a totally different way of looking at food. What are you putting in, not just cutting out? How have you nourished your gut today? My favorite site to order starter cultures is www.culturesforhealth.com. Again, it's www.culturesforhealth.com. I recommend you start with some water keeper because it's simple and tastes fizzy like pop. I add ginger and lemon to mine to make a ginger ale that is a knockout good and has won the praise of kids and teens alike. All right, foods that heal the gut lining. There are a few other superfoods that heal the gut, including bone broth, organic food, and good fats. Then we'll wrap up with some supplements, a simple walkthrough of the GAPS diet, and some of my favorite family recipes that nourish the body instead of hurting it. All right, bone broth. Every type of bone broth out there, whether it comes from chicken, beef, fish, or lamb, has been a staple in diets across the globe for a millennia. Boil the bones, marrow, skin, feet, tendons, ligaments, and cartilage, and you have a superfood that is one of the fastest ways to rebuild the gut lining. In fact, with the first stage of the GAPS diet, it's the base of all you have because it's so nourishing and works so quickly. Those bones are boiled or simmered for hours or days, and they release things like collagen, proline, and glutamine, which helps with arthritis, joint conditions, and IBS. One study found that peptides in bone broth restore the mucosal lining in animals with leaky gut. Yes, animals get it too. The broth is filled with things that are easy for the body to absorb: calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, silicon, sulfur, and amino acids that help with things like digestion, allergies, and asthma. Make a big pot of it once a week and sneak it in everything: taco meat, spaghetti sauce, soups, and casseroles. I even make a white sauce out of bone broth, lemon, thyme, and cashews that is amazing. You can even throw bone broth in green or fruit smoothies as long as you don't season it with salt. You can use homemade broth to replace water in any meal. That is nourishing for your kids, much more so than Gatorade, juicy juice, or antibiotic milk. The ideal amount of bone broth to consume per person is 1 to 2 cups per day for gut healing. How do you make it? Find a good chicken or any hunk of meat. Make sure it's organic and non-GMO. Make sure it's not fed grain. Put the bones in a crock pot and fill it with filtered water. Add 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and let it go. If you do it in a crock pot, it takes about 12 hours. If you do it in an Instant Pot, it takes about 2 hours. You'll get a rich, gelatinous broth that is soothing to the gut lining. It'll last 4 or 5 days in the fridge. If you haven't touched it and there's a layer of fat on the top, that's the good stuff for you. It can last up to 6 months in the fridge. If you can't use it fast enough, freeze it in ice cube trays and put the cubes in baggies in the freezer. Throw them in everything. If you want to read up more on broth, go to Weston Price website. You can even find a chapter leader near you to get plugged in. I think there's one in Mankato. And they will help you source food locally that isn't loaded with garbage. We've been told to shop the perimeter of the grocery store because it's where all the healthy stuff is: fruits, veggies, meat, and meats. But I'd encourage you to ditch the grocery store as you ditch and switch everything else that you need to use. I buy close to 90% of my groceries from local farmers, grass-fed beef, pastured chickens and eggs, local lamb, raw honey, raw milk, butter and cream, tallow and lard to cook with, coconut oil, organic fruits and veggies, and buttermilk that I make into fermented sour cream. The rest of the stuff that comes out of a can and a box at the store, I don't need it anymore. Organic foods. When you go organic, you're cutting pesticides, herbicides, and GMO seeds. You are getting more nutrients. Over a 200-year study, the Journal of Applied Nutrition found that organic apples, pears, potatoes, and corn had 63% more calcium, 73% more iron, and 118% more magnesium than non-organic produce. But isn't organic more expensive? Yes. On average, nationally, you'll pay about 25% more than non-organic food. This is unless, of course, you get really good at sourcing, buying in bulk from farmers, and getting creative, like growing your own ferments and starting a garden, even an herb garden. However, you need to consider the cost elsewhere. Remember the list of ailments in the first couple of paragraphs of this class? What you have to go through to treat those conditions is significantly more emotionally and financially taxing than a 25% increase in your grocery budget. I've had people on my team do a business solely for the goal of increasing their grocery budget enough to get organic food. So they start their own business just to earn enough so that they can buy organic food. That's a great goal. Where do you find the best organic foods? Get plugged into the closest farmers market you can find. Frequent several of them in your area from spring through fall. Consider buying in bulk, like a quarter of a cow, to save money and stockpile well-sourced meat. Ferment, dehydrate, or freeze some of your own produce. I don't do a lot of canning. Actually, I do, but she doesn't. That's another thing I'm going to work on. She doesn't do a lot of canning because, like pasteurization, it kills all the good stuff you want in your gut with heat. If you can't find a local farmer's market, do a quick search for Weston Price in your area. We do have a farmer's market around here. They will get you plugged in. If you live in a remote area, you can also consider some large sourcing companies like US Wellness Meats or Butcher Box, which have organic meats. All right, good fats. This also falls into the weird category. Everything you've learned about fat is likely untrue. There are good fats and bad fats, just like the world of dairy. Your brain needs about a quarter to a half a cup of good fat every single day for it to work correctly. Fat is brain food. Good fats are coconut oil, grass-fed butter, avocados, avocado oil, tallow, lard, olive oil. That's not heated, as heat hydrogenizes it. Ghee and flaxseed oil. A study out of University of Maryland showed omega-3s in fats were good to treat high cholesterol and heart disease. Bad fats, like trans fats, act like poison in the body. 90% of canola oil or vegetable oils are made from genetically modified plants. Partially hydrogenated oils in most box or canned foods have fats that have been injected with hydrogen at high temperatures. These are trans fats. They have been linked to birth defects, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, liver problems, obesity, sterility. If you see any of these oils on the side of the box, run as fast as you did with the enriched bread. So what can I eat? We've just knocked out all sugar, enriched breads, most grains, just about all processed and boxed foods because of hydrogenated oils, most dairy, anything sprayed with a pesticide or herbicide, and all non-organic and non-GMO foods. You can eat. You're just eating real food, just like our one ingredient oils that I use. If you don't use oils, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but that's what I choose to use is oils. And all it has is one oil in the bottle or a blend of single oils. And that's all that's in the bottle. So you're now cooking with one ingredient foods and nourishing your family's bodies one meal at a time. Let me show you a 2-day menu in my world. All right. Breakfast, acai bowls with shredded coconut and homemade granola. I blend an avocado into the acai to give it more nutrients. I add fresh berries and bananas on top, as well as some wolfberries for antioxidants. Lunch, bento boxes with diced veggies and homemade ranch dips made from milk, kefir, chunks of pastured chicken seasoned with a homemade fajita seasoning, grapes and blueberries, raw cheese, and some salty walnuts. And for dinner, sesame orange chicken on fried cauliflower rice with stir-fried vegetables. That sounds pretty good. Day 2, breakfast, mango cream smoothies with 6 servings of spinach and added collagen. Bone broth instead of water. For lunch, leftover Chinese food, the sesame orange chicken from the night before. Dinner, broccoli and chicken casserole made with a white sauce with 4 ingredients: bone broth, cashews, thyme, and a half a squeezed lemon. Does that sound awful? That's truly how we eat. You'll develop an arsenal of amazing foods as you experiment. You'll hide veggies on your kids that don't like veggies. I can make a mean cheesecake out of zucchini, no joke. These are some of my favorite places to start learning. Any of Danielle Walker's cookbook. That sesame orange chicken recipe is in her book, Against All Grain. So that's Danielle Walker. Her book is called Against All Grain. The chicken and broccoli casserole is in her cookbook called Meals Made Simple. So that's Danielle Walker, Against All Grain and Meals Made Simple. Empowered Sustenance is an amazing blog. It has my cheesy chicken casserole recipe with 5 ingredients: shredded chicken, apple cider vinegar, a fermented food, peas, coconut oil, and pureed butternut squash that takes on the flavor of cheese. And detoxinista.com has my cheesecake recipes made out of zucchini. So I stumbled on all of those sites by accident. You could do the same thing by probing and asking questions. I hope this class is filling your heart in deep areas. I know you want to do better for your family, but the reality is most of us weren't taught to cook, and we were raised in a home with food from boxes and cans. We can choose to stop that cycle with this generation. Our kids can grow up with a completely different life if we choose to fight for them. It might mean we have to say no in other areas, but don't you want to set the stage for a strong gut? The greatest gift you can give them from your hands is their health. There are 2 more things I want to touch on quickly, then we will wrap this up. Let's go over a quick tour of supplements and a rundown of what the GAPS diet looks like, as well as an abbreviated form of it that's a little less harrowing. I told you earlier that there were 3 goals in GAPS. Goals of GAPS. Goal 1 is diet. Clean up the digestive tract so it stops being the biggest source of toxicity in the human body. Goal 2, supplementation. After you cut things out, put good things in so you can absorb the nutrients. Goal 3, detoxification and lifestyle changes so that it does not happen again. Let's take a look at goal 2, supplementation. I won't go into great detail on this because I have a whole class on supplements that I'm going to be doing in my other group. If you want to join that group, just shoot me a message and I'll see if it's a good fit for you. But it's a group of my team, and I go through a class every week on that Facebook page. So, or group, but we'll be going through supplements and enzymes in that group as we go along. So if you want to join, shoot me a message and I'll see if it's a good fit. But there are 3 that are gut related that I feel very important. All right. The first supplement that is very important is probiotics. Here are some little known facts about probiotics. They are beneficial species of organisms that provide health benefits. They do not colonize you, but do provide substantial benefits. They can help clear infections from the gut. They can be as effective as antibiotics in treating infection. They resolve imbalances in the gut. They return the gut microbiota to normal after antibiotics. So they can return your gut to normal after antibiotics. They stimulate the immune system and enhance your gut's protective mucous membrane. They help with weight loss, insulin resistance, celiac disease, and a host of other ailments. They support the liver in detoxification. They help the kidneys cleanse. They help the bowels eliminate toxins. They produce vital nutrients for the body like vitamins, minerals, fatty acids, and some enzymes. Probiotics have been shown in studies to fight anxiety or depression. They help with cognitive function. Have I made a strong enough case? This is one of the top supplements for a healthy gut. In fact, it's critical. If you have too much bad bacteria or not enough good bacteria, you're not constantly reintroducing good bacteria. You're going to end up with imbalances. Remember that good bacteria do not colonize, so you have to work at it. All right, next is enzymes. In a nutshell, enzymes create chemical reactions in the body. They speed up the rate of a chemical reaction to help support life. The enzymes in your body do important tasks like building muscle, destroying toxins, and breaking down food so you get the nutrients from what you eat. In short, you are what you digest, according to Dr. Joseph Mercola. His website is a great one to follow. The protein that will slow nearly every inflammatory disease is enzymes. It's the protein that will slow nearly every inflammatory disease, enzymes. Here is a brief list of some of the things enzymes do. Energy production, absorption of oxygen, fight infections and heal wounds, reduce inflammation, get nutrients to your cells, carry away toxic waste, break down fats in your blood, regulating cholesterol and triglyceride levels, dissolve blood clots, help with proper hormone regulation, and slow the aging process. That is an amazing list. 90% of Americans buy processed foods. Diets that are heavy in cooked, processed, and sugary foods combined with overuse of pharmaceutical drugs and antibiotics deplete your body's ability to make enzymes. If you heat your food above 116 degrees, it renders most enzymes in your food inactive. It's one reason you need a mix of cooked and raw foods in your diet so that you get enzymes. If you don't have enough enzymes, you'll see it in forms of constipation, bloating, cramping, flatulence, belching, heartburn, and acid reflux. As it progresses, you get malnourished. Chronic malabsorption leads to a bunch of illnesses. If you don't have the nutritional building blocks you need, you can't recover from illness. By the time you are 20, natural enzyme production starts to decline. And every 10 years, your body's production of enzyme is down 13%. The answer is supplement. GAPS is a lot more effective when you're absorbing the nutrients you're spending so much time in the kitchen preparing. Don't waste your time, take an enzyme. Next is omegas. Omegas 3s, 6s, 9s, and 12s help everything in the body communicate. When your soldiers talk to each other, they win the battle. They're also good for your heart, concentration, memory, and learning, blood sugar levels, joints, your brain and nervous system, your liver, cholesterol levels, your moods, and they fight inflammation. Where do you get them? Wild-caught cold water fish, grass-fed meats, and sprouted seeds and nuts, primarily. 95% of Americans are deficient in DHA and EPA. Those are important omega-3 fatty acids. Each of these supplements plays a role in helping the GAPS diet work faster and helping your body to heal more quickly. You can stay on the diet for 2 years or 10 years. I'd rather it be 2 years. I'll say that again. Each of these supplements plays a role in helping the GAPS diet work faster, in improving your body to heal more quickly. You can stay on the diet for 2 years or 10 years. I'd rather it be 2 years. You heard me say earlier that I was on a Candida diet for 8 years. Would you rather do something like that or do the GAPS diet and supplementation for 2 years instead of 10 years? I would definitely pick 2 years. All right. Can't I get, all right. All right. A 2015 study published in PLOS ONE found frankincense protected the tight junctions of the gut from damage caused by inflammation. The study's authors noted that frankincense oil was effective for leaky gut syndrome. In other words, take a capsule of frankincense vitality oil every day, especially if you take on a diet like GAPS diet or any type of gut protocol. So frankincense, I would take frankincense and copaiba together. That's just my little secret recipe. But those two together in a capsule daily. Does frankincense replace good diet, supplementation, food sourcing, and cutting of toxic things? No, it does not. You heard me say it earlier. You cannot use an oil to band-aid a lifestyle decision, but oils can complement what you're already doing. They assist the body in the work that it is being trained to do on its own. Therefore, it makes oils valuable in the discussion of clean living. Goal 3 on GAPS, the final goal. It is a lifestyle change. That takes conviction. The best way to train you on conviction is with a story. The neat thing about this story is that it's a true story. Perhaps you listened to this class and you're thinking of all the things I said at the beginning. It's too hard. I'm fine. I don't know enough. The problem is that the cost of not learning is extremely high. This is a true story of a professor. His name is Tim Spector. He's quite famous. He's a professor of genetic epidemiology at King's College in London. He made a deal with his son, Tom, that if he'd let him study his gut, he would buy him McDonald's for 10 straight days. He wanted to take a peek at his microbiome. Tom was quite elated about the idea. He loved McDonald's, and free McDonald's was even better. He was in college. Free is always better when you are in college, right? For 10 days, Tom ate a Big Mac or chicken McNuggets, fries, and a Coke. He ate nothing but McDonald's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He gave stool samples before, during, and after his fast food feast. After a week and a half, he had become weak. His skin had taken on a gray color. He was craving salads and fruit. Teams from both Cornell University and the British Gut Project tested Tom's microbiome. His community of gut bacteria had been disseminated. Tom lost 1,400 species, 40% of what was in his entire gut tract in a week and a half. He lost 40%. It took him months to heal. Maybe fast food is not your Achilles heel. Maybe it's sugary coffee in the morning. It may be that your grocery budget is a fraction of what it needs to be, so you've been cutting corners for a long time to save cash. You are cutting your family's health with that decision. Please hear me. The cost is not worth it. What you put in is so important. Ask yourself always, what is nourishing my family's bodies in the meal I'm about to make? Is it loaded with enriched pastas, breads, and rice? Does it contain processed box sauces, synthetic ingredients, hydrogenated oils, and lab-created sugars? Are there any vegetables, any fermented foods, any nutrient-rich broth, proteins, good fats? What am I feeding them? You are so convicted about what you allow in your home. You don't want bright blue dish soap on your counter or toxic shampoo in your kid's bathroom. But there could be poison in your fridge, and it has to stop. It is part of the journey. Yes, there is a learning curve. Yes, it does take time. Yes, the ingredients are more expensive. Yes, the work is worth it. It was worth it all. All right, where do you begin? Because you can do this. Your family's gut is worth it. Remember that you can do this, and I believe that you can do it. All right, where do you begin? All right, check out locals, farmers markets, and start sourcing good ingredients. If you look for this stuff, you can find it. Pick up any cookbook by Danielle Walker and start making dinners you love that nourish your family. If you're up for the GAPS diet and you're all in, begin by going to www.gapsdiet.com. There are food lists of what you can eat that are really well put together. The diet occurs in 6 stages. You skin test for sensitivities in order to progress to the next stage. It starts with bone broth. I recommend you get Natasha Campbell's McBride's Gut and Psychology book and read it cover to cover before you start. There is a supplemental book called The Heal Your Gut Cookbook by Hilary Boyton that is phenomenal if you don't understand some of the foods you need to make, like cultured sour cream and fermented water kefir. It sounds crazy. It's a lot of work, but it has changed everything for my family. Order supplements. I'm going to be going through a supplements class in my other group. If you want to be part of that, shoot me a message or a comment on this Facebook post, but order supplements. It makes a lot of difference. If you do it together, it will go so much faster to heal your gut. Start cutting ingredients. Even today, I begin with the top 7 offenders, okay? Cut ingredients, start with the top 7 offenders: soy, nitrates, dyes, preservatives, corn syrup, caffeine, and hydrogenated oils. If you want a great resource on how to cut things out, grab Fearless, Confidence with Essential Oils in 2 Hours. It's a great little book. I have them. If you would like one, I give one to every member of my team. So if you become a member of my team, I will give you one. But it is a really good way to start getting going on this stuff. All right, if you cannot take on the GAPS diet right now, but want to keep learning on this topic and start making some small changes, I'd recommend a fantastic book, and it's called Living Balanced, Healthy Mind and Body Reference Guide. It's called Living Balanced, Healthy Mind and Body Reference Guide. I'll put a list of these on this post so that you can reference it later. I'll list the books, the authors, so you can look them up and find those. So it's called Living Balanced, Healthy Mind and Body Reference Guide. It's a great book. They are a little bit heavier, but I also love any book by Sally Fallon Morell, especially the book Nourishing Traditions. It is a standard for cooking in the entire clean living world. If you're not convinced that soy is bad for you, check out the book, The Whole Soy Story by Dr. Kayla Daniels. So the whole soy story, that's hard to say, by Dr. Kayla Daniels. If you're not convinced that fat is good for you, check out the book, Eat Fat, Lose Fat by Dr. Mary Enig. So if you're really convicted and you want to start immediately, here are some of my favorite documentaries to watch. You can download many of them on Netflix or Hulu. Bitter Seeds, Commercial, spelled Chemerical. Controlling Our Food, Cut, Poison, Burn, Dirt, the movie, Doctored, Dr. Mary's Monkey, Farmageddon, Fast Food Nation, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, Fed Up, Food Matters, Genetic Roulette, Hungry for Change, King Corn. There's a whole bunch of these. Making a Killing, The Untold Story of Psychotropic Drugs. That sounds interesting. Tapped, The Future of Foods. The Gerson Miracle, The Inconvenient Tooth, The Inconvenient Tooth, The New Medicine, SuperSize Me, The Story of Bottled Water, The Truth 365, and We Are What We Eat. If you ever want me to have any questions, or you want some more information about anything, feel free to message me or call me. I'm here to help you. I plan on doing some more lives and maybe focusing on one area every single month. If you have anything that you want to focus on, feel free to comment that on here on this post, and I'd be happy to see if we can get to some of those. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you for joining me. If you could post the one thing that you like the most about this class, about gut health and what you learned, I would really appreciate it. And one thing that you're going to do moving forward. So I have sauerkraut on my counter right now. I've also been making bone broth. It's super easy to make. I have a foodie or an Instapot. It's similar to an Instapot, but I have one of those. It makes it super easy. I made a homemade hamburger soup for our family last night, and just start small. Just start with one or two things that you changed, and just keep learning and walking it, and you'll get there. And if you want any information on the supplements that we take, exactly what they are and how you can get started with that, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to help you. I hope you have a great day. I love you guys. I believe in you, and be healthy. And I bless you. So have the best day.